So, in the last 5 years or so, we've seen a lot of political and social issues come out of America relating to their criminal justice system. From things like Trayvon Martin to Eric Gardner, things have just been piling up. And here in Canada, we've kind of taken a backseat and taken it. It's created some kind of nationalism amongst us. And we have this idea that, because it happens in America, we have to be better. Like, Canada's obviously on top. But in reality, our justice system, it's just as flawed. And a lot of people don't realize that in Canada, we still have a lot of the same problems, just on a different degree. So, just some fun facts so that we better understand the context. If you are a criminal and you have committed an offense and you are given, let's say, a sentence of 9 years, based on the statutory release, you will be released after 2/3 of your sentence. So that 9 years has been reduced to 6 years. And then, based on the parole system, you are eligible for parole after completing 1/3 of your sentence. So that 9 years that has turned to 6 years has just become 3 years. If you are, if they decide to release you on good behavior or something, then boom, you're really only spending about a year and a half in jail for something that you initially had 9 years for. And that's basically sums up how the sentencing in Canada works. And when sentencing, the judge has to take in a lot of things into consideration, like your past offenses, your remorse, the victim, etc., etc. But in the case we're looking at with Dean Zimmerman, those things I felt really weren't acknowledged. Dean Zimmerman is a Métis man, and I'm just bringing up the fact that he's Métis because Métis men specifically hold a large population in the incarceration rates in Canada, which also is a problem, but that's something that we can get into at another time. So, Dean Zimmerman, he made his first offense in 1997 when he sexually assaulted a 19-year-old girl. Then his second offense was in 2001 when he sexually assaulted, tortured his wife, his pregnant wife, for 48 hours. Then his third offense was in 2005 when he sexually assaulted another woman for 48 hours with a plunger. How was he released so many times? This man, in the span between 1997 to 2005, he was only in jail for less than or approximately 6 years. How did that happen? We're going to find out. Because obviously there's an issue with Canada and its ability to appropriately assess the offenders and are just not effectively rehabilitating the offenders, and that causes a real threat to the society as they leave. So what I'm really trying to understand is who is it that the justice system is really benefiting? Is it benefiting the victim who will have to suffer the emotional trauma of being tortured and raped? Or is it benefiting the criminal who's only spending 6 years after only one of his three crimes? 6 years, which turned to actually 3 years. Who does that benefit, and how does that maintain any kind of peace or build back any kind of relationship? How does that restore that comfort for the victim who has suffered? And that is exactly where the justice system is flawed. It's flawed in the sense that it's letting these offenders out so easily through their risk assessment and the parole dates, and they're just not practical anymore. It doesn't make sense to give someone like that such a soft parole time when he has such a high recidivism rate. And recidivism is basically the rate at which criminals reoffend. So for someone who has reoffended and is eligible for parole continuously, it doesn't make sense that we continue to let that slide. Thankfully, there are solutions. I feel that a great solution to the whole shebang would be a more restorative type of justice, and not restorative in the sense that we just abandon all incarceration and the whole 2.7 billion. I think there is a purpose for that, but maybe inside the prisons we follow more restorative practices and reach the offenders on a more emotional level, because for someone like that who felt no remorse, they're going to continue the acts, and they're going to become more heinous as they continue further. So a website that I found, prisonfellowshipcanada.ca, and I'll post the link below. On this website, it's an organization where they really focus on restoring the relationship between the offender and the victim so that both sides can understand each other, and it's more so for the offender to become whole again. They're really strong believers in a person being whole, and that is done through social, intellectual, spiritual sense. So they will meet each other, they'll talk, and there are a bunch of other things, and if you look on the website you can understand it a bit more better than I can explain it. But I think that that's just a step in the road that we need to take in order to really successfully rehabilitate and reintegrate criminals and ex-offenders, all the people that are incarcerated, back into society. Because at the end of the day, they are a part of society, and we can't just leave them. We have to acknowledge what they do, and we have to take responsibility for that. And it's important that we're able to bring them back into society as people better than who they were. And I feel that that is something that the justice system has been failing to do, but it's not that we are not subject to change. And I feel that with the change, we are able to grow.